Most people in the UK still believe milk hasn't really changed. It comes from a cow, it's made safe, and it goes straight into a bottle. But that's not how supermarket milk is handled anymore. Before milk reaches the shelves, large dairy factories remove all the natural cream from it to fit shelf life demands. It is no longer left in its natural state. This is done so supermarkets can sell huge amounts of milk that all taste the same and last longer in stores. Their focus is on making large quantities, keeping it consistent, and protecting profits. And while lower fat milk is legal and approved, it is not the same as milk left in its original natural balance, something most shoppers are never clearly told. So in this video, we're going to expose the stages that turn simple farm milk into a factory-controlled product, and show you exactly how the focus on scale and profit has changed what ends up in your fridge. Calling it fake may not be an exaggeration after all. The moment milk stops being natural. Most people imagine milk as something simple. It leaves the farm, gets made safe, and is bottled. But the first major change happens almost immediately after collection. When milk arrives at large processing plants, it does not stay in its natural form. It is pumped into massive holding tanks and prepared for standardization. The natural balance that came from the cow, including the cream rising to the top, is not preserved. Instead, the cream is fully removed. This step is called separation. Powerful spinning machines divide the milk into two parts, skim milk and cream, and nothing is left as it was. The milk is completely stripped down. Why remove all the cream first? Because once everything is separated, processors can control exactly how much fat goes back into the milk later. This gives them full control over what becomes whole, semi-skimmed, or skimmed. It allows every bottle across the country to match the same supermarket specifications. But this also means what you buy is not milk left in its natural balance. It is milk that has been dismantled and rebuilt. Cream is not just thickness. It is the natural fat of milk. It carries flavor. It carries fat-soluble vitamins, it slows digestion and helps you feel satisfied. When it is removed and later added back in fixed percentages, the product becomes standardized rather than natural. This first step marks the moment milk stops being a simple farm product and becomes an industrial one. And if you think this is the biggest change it goes through, the next stage alters the structure of the milk even further. Rebuilding the fat levels. After the cream has been completely removed, the milk is no longer whole. It has been separated into skim milk on one side and pure cream on the other. At this point, nothing resembles the balanced milk that originally came from the cow. What remains is a base liquid that must now be carefully adjusted before it can be sold. This is where rebuilding begins. Factories do not simply pour the original cream back in and call it whole milk again. Instead, machines measure exact fat percentages required for each product line. Whole milk must meet a fixed percentage. Semi-skimmed must meet a lower one. Skimmed must contain almost none. The cream is added back in controlled amounts until the milk hits those precise targets. This process is called standardization, and it gives processors full control over the final product. Naturally produced milk is never perfectly identical from day to day. Fat levels change depending on the season, the cow's diet, and even the weather, but large retailers cannot work with variation. Supermarkets need every bottle in every store across the country to taste the same, look the same, and match the label exactly. That consistency makes national pricing, advertising, and distribution possible. So instead of accepting natural variation, the system removes it completely. The milk is rebuilt to meet a number. It becomes predictable, uniform, and stable. That stability supports mass production and profit, but it also means the milk you buy has been adjusted to fit contracts rather than preserved in its original state. And even after the fat levels have been carefully rebuilt, the process does not stop there. Because once the milk is standardized, factories move on to a step that permanently changes how that fat behaves inside the liquid itself. The next stage does not just adjust the milk's percentage, it changes its structure entirely, stabilizing it for the system. By the time the milk has been separated and rebuilt to fixed fat levels, it has already moved far away from its natural state. But the factory process doesn't stop there. Before the milk is bottled, it is pushed through industrial filtration systems designed to further control what remains inside it. These systems remove tiny particles, reduce natural bacteria levels, and strip out elements that would normally cause fresh milk to change more quickly over time. This is not simply about safety. Modern pasteurization already handles safety. This stage is about stability and control. Fresh milk, left closer to its natural condition, reacts to time. It varies slightly. It has a shorter life. That kind of variation does not work well in a national supermarket system that moves millions of bottles through warehouses, lorries, and store shelves every week. So the milk is processed again to make it more predictable. Lower natural bacteria levels mean fewer returns, fewer spoiled batches, and longer shelf time. Longer shelf time means less financial loss. The more stable the milk becomes, the easier it is to manage at scale. The system rewards milk that can sit longer, travel further, and behave exactly the same in every bottle. But the more the milk is stabilized for distribution, the further it moves away from being a simple farm product. What began as fresh milk from a cow is now a carefully controlled liquid designed to survive an industrial supply chain. And even after filtration and stabilization, the milk still faces one of the most defining steps in its transformation, a heat process that determines just how long it can stay in the system before it ever reaches your fridge. Heat treatment and shelf life control. After the milk has been filtered and stabilized for the supply chain, it moves into one of the most decisive stages of all, heat treatment. Most people are familiar with pasteurization, the process that makes milk safe by killing harmful bacteria. But modern supermarket milk is heated in ways designed not only for safety, but also for shelf life and distribution control. In large processing plants, milk is heated to high temperatures for short periods of time using high-temperature, short-time systems. In some cases, depending on the product, even higher temperatures are used. The purpose is to dramatically reduce microbial activity so the milk can travel long distances, sit in storage facilities, and remain on supermarket shelves for extended periods without spoiling. Safety is the official reason. But longevity is the practical advantage. The longer milk can sit in the system without going off, the easier it is for retailers to manage stock. Fewer spoiled bottles mean fewer losses. Longer shelf life allows national pricing, bulk contracts, and predictable supply across thousands of stores. However, heat does more than just kill bacteria. It changes the structure of proteins in the milk. It affects taste slightly. It alters some delicate nutrients. While pasteurization is regulated and approved, the modern focus on extended shelf stability means milk today may spend far longer in the distribution chain than most shoppers imagine when they read the word fresh. By the time it reaches your fridge, that bottle may have already traveled through processing plants, storage tanks, transport depots, and warehouse systems, all made possible by heat treatment designed to prioritize stability. The milk still looks simple. It still carries farm imagery. But it has now been separated, rebuilt, filtered, and heat managed to survive an industrial network built around scale. And there is still another layer to this system, because the way supermarkets price and contract milk plays a major role in shaping how it is produced in the first place. Supermarket contracts and pricing pressure. By this stage, the milk has already been separated, rebuilt to fixed fat levels, filtered, and heat treated so it can survive long distribution. But there is another powerful force shaping what ends up in your fridge, and it does not sit inside the factory. It sits inside supermarket boardrooms. Large retailers do not simply buy milk and place it on shelves. They sign supply contracts that demand exact pricing, exact fat percentages, strict shelf life targets, and guaranteed volume across hundreds or even thousands of stores. These agreements leave very little room for natural variation. The milk must meet fixed standards every single time. Milk is one of the most closely watched products in a supermarket. It is often priced very low to attract customers through the door. Because of that, processors are under constant pressure to keep costs tight and waste as low as possible. Any batch that spoils too early, separates unevenly, or varies in taste becomes a financial problem. So the system rewards milk that is stable, uniform, and long-lasting. Natural milk does not always behave that way. Its fat levels change with seasons. Its taste can vary slightly. Its shelf life is shorter when left closer to its natural condition, but contracts do not allow for unpredictability. To meet those contracts, processing becomes stricter. Adjustments become more precise. Shelf life becomes a priority. The milk is shaped to fit the system rather than allowed to remain as it originally was. By the time you see that bottle in the chilled aisle, it has already been designed to meet pricing strategies, distribution timelines, and retail targets. It may look simple, but it has passed through a chain built around efficiency and scale. And if this breakdown is opening your eyes to what really happens behind everyday supermarket products, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It allows this channel to keep investigating the foods many people assume are untouched and straightforward, because we are not at the end yet. There is still another stage that completes this transformation, the stage that allows all of this industrial processing to still be presented to you as fresh British milk. How fresh becomes a marketing word. After the milk has been separated, rebuilt, filtered, heat-treated, and shaped to meet supermarket contracts, it finally reaches the stage most people recognize: packaging and presentation. This is the moment where the industrial journey is hidden behind a simple label. The bottle looks calm and reassuring. You see green fields, cows grazing, sometimes even a farmer in a flat cap. The word fresh is printed clearly on the front. It feels close to nature. It feels honest. It feels unchanged. But by the time that word is placed on the bottle, the milk has already been through multiple stages of control and adjustment. It has been stripped down and rebuilt to fixed fat levels. It has been processed so it will not separate. It has been stabilized to survive transport and storage across the country. The word fresh does not mean untouched. It does not mean natural. It does not mean the milk is still in the condition it left the cow. In modern retail terms, fresh simply means it has not been frozen, dried, or turned into a long-life carton. It says nothing about how much processing happened in between. Because the milk has been designed for shelf life, it can spend days moving through cooling tanks, distribution centers, refrigerated lorries, and supermarket storage rooms before you ever pick it up. The date on the bottle may suggest recent production, but the journey behind it is longer and more controlled than most people imagine. What protects the system is familiarity. Milk has always been seen as basic and safe. People rarely question it. They assume it is one of the last simple foods left in the weekly shop. But when the image on the label no longer matches the level of industrial handling behind it, a gap forms between what is shown and what actually happened. And that gap is what allows heavily processed milk to still be perceived as simple farm milk. There are still two final stages to this story, including the one that explains why this entire system continues quietly year after year without most shoppers ever being told how much their milk has changed. Why the system keeps it this way. By this stage, the milk has been separated, rebuilt, filtered, heat managed, and packaged under a simple and reassuring image. But the bigger question is no longer just how it is processed. The more important question is why the system keeps producing milk this way, year after year. The answer lies in scale. Milk is one of the most widely purchased products in the UK. It is bought daily, often several times a week. Because it is such a basic staple, supermarkets use it as a price anchor. It draws customers into stores. It shapes shopping habits. That means supply must never fail. To keep shelves full across hundreds or thousands of stores, processors must deliver milk that behaves exactly the same every single time. It must survive transport from farm to factory, factory to warehouse, warehouse to supermarket, and supermarket to your fridge without changing in appearance or spoiling too quickly. Natural milk does not always cooperate with that system. Its fat levels shift. Its flavor can vary slightly. Its shelf life, if left closer to its original state, would be shorter. That unpredictability increases risk. And in a system built around tight margins and national distribution, risk becomes expensive. So the system removes risk. It standardizes, it filters, it heat controls, it rebuilds. Each stage is designed to eliminate variation and protect volume. Longer shelf life means fewer bottles thrown away. Fewer returns mean less financial loss. Consistent taste means fewer complaints. Predictable supply means stable pricing. Everything is shaped around efficiency. But when efficiency becomes the priority, the product itself changes. The milk you see in the fridge aisle is no longer simply milk preserved in its natural form. It is milk adjusted to survive a large commercial system. The reason this continues is not because shoppers asked for it. It continues because it fits modern retail economics. The system rewards milk that can travel far, sit longer, and behave consistently. And because the final bottle still looks clean, simple, and familiar, most people never realize how much control has been applied behind the scenes. Which brings us to the final stage, the point where all of this processing is quietly accepted and presented as completely ordinary. Why it still looks so natural. After everything the milk has gone through, separation, rebuilding, filtration, heat management, contract-driven adjustments, the final stage is not another machine. It is presentation, because none of what happened inside the factory is visible to you. When you stand in front of the chilled aisle, you do not see centrifuges spinning cream away from skim milk. You do not see fat levels being recalculated by machines. You do not see filtration systems reducing variation. You do not see high-pressure pipes or heat exchangers designed to extend shelf life. You see a clean white bottle. You see green fields printed on the label. You see cows grazing. You see the word fresh. The message is simple. This is natural milk, just as it has always been. Milk carries emotional trust. It is one of the first foods people are given as children. It is poured into tea every day. It is used in baking, cereal, sauces, and coffee. Because it feels basic and familiar, most people never question it. That familiarity protects the system. The processes behind supermarket milk are legal and regulated, but they are rarely explained in a way that makes people stop and think. The removal of natural cream, the rebuilding to fixed fat percentages, the mechanical alteration that prevents separation, the filtration for stability, the heat treatment for extended distribution. All of these stages quietly reshape the product, yet the final bottle presents none of that complexity. Instead, it presents simplicity, and that is where the gap forms. The milk still looks like the milk your parents bought. It still pours the same. It still tastes familiar. But structurally and commercially, it now belongs to a different system. One built around national contracts, predictable pricing, and large-scale distribution. When the image stays the same, but the process changes dramatically, the word fake starts to take on a different meaning. Not fake in the sense that it is artificial or illegal, but fake in the sense that the story told on the label no longer matches the journey behind the product. Milk has not disappeared, but the version sold in modern supermarkets is no longer the simple, untouched farm milk many people still imagine. And that quiet shift is what most shoppers were never clearly told about. Milk has always been one of the most trusted foods in the home. It feels simple, it feels safe, it feels unchanged. But as we have seen, what sits on supermarket shelves today has traveled through a long chain of industrial control before it ever reaches your fridge. The natural cream is removed. The fat is rebuilt to exact percentages. The milk is filtered, stabilized, and heat managed so it can survive national distribution. It is shaped to meet contracts, protect shelf life, and reduce financial loss across thousands of stores. None of this is illegal. None of it is secret in a hidden document somewhere. but it is rarely explained in clear, everyday language. And that is where the discomfort comes from. Because when a product still looks natural, still carries farm imagery, and still uses simple words like fresh, most people assume it has not changed very much. Yet behind that calm label is a system designed for scale, consistency, and profit first. Calling it fake is not about saying it is counterfeit. It is about recognizing that the story presented on the bottle no longer reflects the full journey behind it. So what can you do? Start by asking questions. Look beyond the label. Understand that supermarket milk is a highly controlled product built for mass retail. If you want milk closer to its natural state, explore local dairies, unhomogenized options, or smaller suppliers where possible. Even simply being aware of the processing behind the bottle gives you back some control. Because once you understand how something is made, you no longer accept the image without thinking. If this breakdown helped you kindly, share this video with someone who still believes it has never changed. And if you want more investigations into everyday supermarket products, subscribe and stay with this channel. The foods we trust most deserve the closest look.